What's good, Grind Shine Recovery guys? We're going to talk about dead friends of mine. I've lost a lot of people to the dope, to the drug game. We're going to talk about it. Anybody need help with recovery, get at me in the comments, as always. Look, it's about 25 people I lost. A lot of them are close friends. I'm not going to put full names out there. We're going to say Jim B. That's the most recent. My buddy Russell Hunt was a really close friend. Best friend Joe Young did a video about him, and these were either overdoses or some way, shape, or form they were related to drugs. This shit is no game. I'm sick of burying friends that I used to run with. I'm sick of seeing people die and lose loved ones over this. And I was listening to some old music I used to jam to, and it's crazy because I feel like I'm one of the few that made it. Out of all my close. Also, anyone trying to trim down, get at me in the comments as well. Over the last 6 months, I've dropped 10% of my body fat. I'm down to, I think, 17 to 18%, somewhere around there. I need to measure here at the end of this week, but anyone trying to get in shape, get at me in the comments. There's no excuses. I got 2 blown discs in my back. I'm 80% blind, so I hear a lot of people make excuses why they can't do it, and there's just no excuse to be had. Anyways. So, I listed a few names there, and this don't discriminate. A friend of mine, Harry L., his father was a cop in the town I grew up in. So, this does not discriminate, guys. Basically, what we're going to get into is, how many friends I lost. Like I said, I buried 25 close friends I used to run with. This is all due to the dope game. My boy Russell, sadly hung himself. Was going to go back to prison over a gun spec charge. He went to prison right at 18 while he was going to college, and it's just a sad thing, man, to see people go out like that, man. And so we're going to talk about kind of what led up to this. My boy Russell, I carry some guilt to this because he came home from prison, and he was doing all right for the first little while. We got together, chopped it up, and before you know it, man, he fell right back into hustling. By this point, going back to college was not an option. Basically, what led up to him going to prison the first time was he had a pretty big plug out towards Chicago. We're from Cincinnati. He just started college at UC. He had some boys that he had that were the runners. They would go run, get the stuff, come back, and basically they cut out him from the plug. They started just getting to connect themselves, tried to cut him out. My boy was not a pushover. He went up in there, right in Clifton. This is in Cincinnati, right on UC campus. He went in the house, zip tied the guys up, him and a few of our other boys, and my best friend, Joe Young, he was involved in this. He was 17 at the time, man. We were in the game so deep by the time, we weren't even 17. We're in the game pretty deep. We're pushing, pretty heavy weight. It's just marijuana and ecstasy at this point. But he lays these people down, robs them. Basically, these guys, when they get untied, the first thing they do is call the cops. They kind of knew who it was because his voice, of course, even though he had a ski mask. They get pulled over, 71. Didn't make it about 15 minutes before they got knocked. Gets caught with about 20 pounds of marijuana. Gets gun spec because he used a gun in the robbery. Gets a couple years. He comes home after 2 years. Gets a judicial release. That's what they do instead of parole here in Ohio. So he came home on parole, and he was home about, I'm thinking about 3 years he was out. And, he got back involved in hustling. This is where the Oxycontin boom just hit, man. So he and I both, we get hooked on Oxys. I remember a conversation with him at this point. I think I'm 19 years old, just moved out on my own. And, we both were working full time, had decent little jobs. But I remember this conversation we had about, sometimes we get so high hoping we don't wake up because we don't want to deal with that sickness the next day. that's the sad truth of this addiction shit, man. It's people don't realize people don't want to live in addiction like that. They get stuck in it. Don't realize there's no other way. You know, they think that's the only way of life. It seems like a pipe dream to get clean, and it's a lot of work. Don't get me wrong, but don't wait until something drastic happens. Don't wait till you go get locked up for a year or two and have to get sober. Don't wait till just don't wait, because you might not get the chance to get sober. We see with the fentanyl nowadays, everybody is dropping over like flies, and it's just the sad truth of it, man. I don't know, what to say other than this shit is no game. It's so sad, man. So my boy stuff goes on for a little while. My boy ends up catching another gun spec. So he knew he was going to, back to prison for some time, probably about 5 years or more this time. Mind you, this guy grew up in a pretty good family. His dad was a prosecutor. Grew up with a pretty wealthy family. His brother ended up to be a sheriff. So this don't discriminate, man. And we get involved in the dope game, and we feel like there's some power and money in it, and yeah, there might be, but you don't want that power, man. If you take that grind and hustle and that motivation and put it towards something else, life could be so much better, My boy ended up hanging himself just before court. And I remember getting the news while I was in county jail, and this, I think 2004. But, since my boy hung himself, I had to bury 24 other people I knew closely, man. My boy Joe Young ended up spending most of his 20s in prison. Me and him grew up with families that were definitely involved in MC and some real shit. That's all I'm gonna say. My boy ended up to be a meth cook, and they took care of him. They would make sure he got bonded out every time he caught a case, but they only did it for the purpose of him to get out there, owe him money, and have to cook more dope for them. And I remember at one point he had like 2 or 3 cases open, and he's on bond in 2 or 3 different counties, still cooking dope to try to pay back the bond money. And it's just a shame, man. People glamorize this gang shit, and really it's a way for another man to use another man to get ahead, is what it seems like to me, man. They sell it as brotherhood and all this and that, but it's really not, man. Sorry about the background. My place is a little messy. I gotta do laundry today, but I wanted to get this video out because it is just so real, man. There's nobody wins in the dope game. Nobody comes out ahead. The years that I did have decent money and made decent money from hustling when I was younger, as soon as I got hooked on oxys, it was all out the window. And I'm not talking like I was moving a QP here and there. I'm talking I had, I was making some money. I'm talking there's things I was doing on a Friday when I was 18, one lick that was, dude came out with 20 grand, and that was a consistent every Friday thing. I'm talking about this openly because I feel like, with the music, different things, it's glamorized like, it's some way to get ahead, and it's really, man, it's not. It's no way to live, man. You're just struggling and striving to get by, and it's so much easier to get ahead when you get off the dope, get out of that dope game, get away from the people that's using dope, build your credit. I'll put it this way: the race to success, if you want to be successful and wealthy, it's not a sprint. It's a long, drawn out. It's a marathon. And sometimes it takes a while, but slow and steady wins the race. If you're better off to be working at Mickey D's, putting up $40 a week in a savings account and working on your credit score, than to be out there hustling and slinging. I'm telling you, man. So I'm making this video just to let people know, man. I've been through it. I've seen what happens, and I've seen so many people die from this shit, man. It's just no way to live. Um, I look back and I think, man, am I the only one of, like, people I grew up with that made it? And there's a few others that are out there living and they're doing all right, but man, a lot of them didn't make it, and a lot of wasted talent, man, and just good people. And I've seen good people turn to bad people, on the drugs. Let's just face it. It's what it does. Uh, you know, but I really, when I was 18, I really was drawn towards this criminal lifestyle and hustling, striving, the gang shit, all that. And I'm telling you, man, it's no way to live. It's definitely not, man. People don't realize, the pain some people have to carry through some of that, and like I said, I think back to when my boy got home and him coming to my parents' house and, buying, a jar of rolls from him, and he was just doing it at that point to kind of get by until he got back to work. I mean, he literally just got home from the joint. But, I carry a lot of guilt because I wish I would have knew what I knew now. I wish I would have encouraged him not to get back into hustling. Knowing that he hung himself like he did, man, it's just a sad, sad story. And we're going to tell the story of, my boy Mighty Joe Young next. That's my best friend. RIP to him, too. But this shit is real. That's all I got to say for today, man. I'm going to drop a few more videos. I'm going to be gone for 30 days coming up after the 10th or 11th. 11th, yeah, so this Monday. So we'll do a video called 30 Days In here soon. I want y'all to check that out. If you guys, want, get at me in the comments. My Cash App's always up here. It's also in the link, or the description, sorry. But if you want to support the channel, we've got 7 people in the sober living where we pay the first month for them, help them get on their feet, and I even go out of my way to help them find work, so they can keep themselves paid up on rent and the sober living. And we've got 11 people into treatment through scholarships or getting them hooked up with insurance and plugging them in. So guys, man, if you don't think there's no way out, there's a way out. If you need help from someone who's been through it, get at me in the comments.